Joan Baez is an American folk singer and anti-war human rights activist. She was born on January 9th, 1941 in Staten Island, New York. She was born to her parents. Her father was a Mexican-American physicist and her mother was a Scottish drama teacher. She was the second of 3 daughters to be born to her parents. Her family moved often for her father's work. He often had to take jobs in different places. So she lived in lots of places during her childhood. California, New York, all over the country, really. Because of this, she had very little formal musical training, which is really surprising when you look at how successful she is. Her parents were both Quakers, so they instilled her with a pacifist, non-violent upbringing, which is something that she still holds on to and continues to this day. These beliefs have helped shape her into the activist that we have come to know and love today. So in the 1960s, she got really involved in anti-war demonstrations. That's when her music really started gaining popularity. In 1959, she was in the Newport Music Folk Festival, which was a really big music festival at the time. And that's really where she started gaining traction as far as her music was related. She grew up in the 1960s, a time when women were starting to have voices and opinions that could be voiced. We know the 1960s today is the era of the civil rights movement. It says in our book, Through Women's Eyes, it says women activists often face jail violence, harassment, and degraded jail conditions. Joan and Bob Dylan are shown in the picture here on the left. They dated for a few years in the 60s, and he really had an effect on her music, and he really helped bring her to a whole nother level of music, and they helped bring each other to a new level of notoriety. She actually has a lot of his songs that she performs even to this day, and he taught her how to go from using folk songs that had been around for hundreds of years to writing her own songs, a lot of which were protest music at the time, which was something we didn't really see until the 1960s. It's a new type of music, that was born in the 60s as protest music. She really went against the norm to stand up for what she believed in. Many women were still expected to be at home, taking care of the household. You were really branded as different if you went out and you were involved in all of these civil rights movements. I mean, obviously a lot of people were involved, but it wasn't really considered socially appropriate. Also, for her activist days, she's still an activist, but at the beginning here we see that Joan was really good friends with Martin Luther King. So the 1963 famous March on Washington, where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous I Had a Dream speech, she did play there. She had played there just briefly before he spoke, and she performed We Shall Overcome. It was a very big performance. There was 30,000 people in attendance. It was a huge thing. I mean, obviously we all know about it. And this is just one of many times where she's very publicly out there protesting and saying how she feels about these things. She protested the Vietnam War, the entire war. She was arrested twice in Oakland, California in 1967. She was technically arrested for blocking the Armed Forces Induction Center. So these guys would get their draft cards and they'd be called in for the draft, and she'd go and she'd try to talk them out of the line. And when she got someone to leave the line, they would arrest her. She married a man named David Harris, who was also frequently in and out of jail for anti-war demonstrations and fighting the draft. They had one son together. His name is Gabriel. She said, "Action is the antidote to despair. Joan is well known for her civil rights activism and anti-war demonstrations. She also founded the Institute of Nonviolence in Northern California in 1965. She helped to establish Amnesty International in 1972, and she marched with the Irish Peace People in 1978 to call an end to all violence. These are just a few of the things that she's really well known for doing. Joan Baez has been consistently known as a pacifist and human rights activist. Her beautiful music has inspired countless people to keep fighting for what they believe in. She is well known for singing We Shall Overcome at the March on Washington, 1963. She has worked with numerous organizations to make a difference and put an end to human rights violations and violence. She fought the prescribed ideals of society and strives for a better future. This is a more recent picture of Joan Baez, who won the Lifetime Achievement Grammy Award in 2007 and continues to inspire women today and leaves a lasting legacy. She is important for her contributions to folk music and rock and roll, namely protest songs and political songs. She is inspiring as a woman who stands up for what she believes in and is not afraid to voice opinions. She's an amazing human rights supporter and isn't afraid to speak up. This makes her a figure to learn about.